Okay, so today talking about triangles, special types of triangles though. They're right triangles, right? They have a right 90 degrees in them, right? Um, that's what this chapter is about, trigonometry. Trigonometry is the study of triangles. That's all it is, just triangles, different types of triangles, okay? Today we're talking about a specific special type. They're right triangles, first of all. They all have right angles, right? This during yesterday when you guys did the review, a bunch of triangles. You guys saw a bunch of triangles, and if there wasn't a triangle, you drew a triangle, right? Well, that's we're continuing with that. There's two types of special right triangles. One is called a 30 degree, 60 degree, 90 degree right triangle. The other one's called a 45 degree, 90 degree right triangle. Why are they special? Because their side lengths also are what we call special ratios. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is called it's a 30, 60, 90. Okay, so it's called the 30, 60, 90 because those are the angles. One of them's 90, the box is 90, one of them's 60, one of them's 30. Okay, and their sides, that's the inside. The angles are the inside. Now the outsides are the sides. Their side lengths are also related. Okay, so the first thing is 30. Opposite of the 30 is this side right here. Okay, that's x. Okay, opposite of 60 is this guy right here. So whatever you got here, x, times the square root of 3, and that's how long the long leg is, right? Because it's a right triangle. So if it's a right triangle, it still has two legs and a hypotenuse. All right triangles have two legs and a hypotenuse, okay? So these two guys are the legs. These two guys are the legs, okay? So one of them, the shorter leg is just x. The longer leg is the same x times the square root of 3, okay? And then the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle, this guy here. So how do I find this guy? Well, whatever x was, you just double it. Multiply by 2. Okay? So that is a 30, 60, 90. Right below it, I put a little table. This is kind of your cheat sheet. This is what you're going to use the most today. Because what they're going to do is they're going to give you one of these. They're going to give you one leg, or the other leg, or the hypotenuse. Okay? They're not going to give you two of them. Because if they gave you two sides, you could just use Pythagorean Theorem. Leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared, right? Like we've been doing. But if they only give you one side, you have to use other methods, okay? So let's look at example 1a. Okay, first question. Is it a right triangle? Yes, we know that because it's got the box right in the corner. Good. Is it a 30, 60, 90 right triangle? Yes, we know that. Why does this side have to be 30? Why does, not this side, I shouldn't say, this angle. Why does this angle have to be 30?
Because there's already 60 degrees plus the right angle,
Which makes
like
30, 60, 90.
180
There you go.
degrees minus that.
There you go. That's it right there, 180. Triangle can have on the inside, it can't have more than 180. It can't have less than 180. It has to be exactly 180. If it has more than 180, it's not a triangle. If it's got less than a 180, it's not a triangle. Okay, so it has to equal, on the inside, it has to equal 180. Okay, so 30, 60, 90. Okay, that's the first two things. Is it a right triangle, and is it a 30, 60, 90? The second thing is, what part do they give us? Do they give us one of the legs, or do they give us the hypotenuse? Hypotenuse, right? How do we know that's the hypotenuse? Because it's across from the 90 degrees. That's one way, right? It's across from the 90 degrees. That's one way. The other way is the two legs, they meet at the 90 degrees. That's how they always tell. Okay, good. Here's another question. Which one is the short leg, X or Y?
Y.
I agree, Y is the short leg. There's a correct answer and there's a wrong answer as to why. A lot of people say I don't think I've had anyone today tell me X is the short leg. But some of them were wrong in how they told. So how do I know that Y is the short leg, Brian? There you go. The smaller angle is always opposite. I've had some people say, well, it's smaller. Look at that's smaller, right? This is smaller here than this guy here. Yeah, but it's not drawn to scale, right? It's not drawn to scale. Drawn to scale means it's exactly perfect. It's not. It's not. Just like my triangles on the board. Those aren't drawn to scale. So we have to have another way. Just like Brian said, 30 is smaller than 60. So the one that's opposite that has to be smaller. So Y is the shorter leg. That means X is the longer leg. That's how you tell the difference between which one's shorter and which one's longer. Okay? Okay, so I have the hypotenuse. So let's go up to the table. So go up to the table. The left column says given. The left column says given, right? There's only one of them that says hypotenuse. Right. So I'm going to use this row here. I'm going to follow this row down here all the way to the end. So it says, if you have the hypotenuse, if you're given the hypotenuse, and you want to find the short leg, because I don't know that, what are you going to do? Divide the hypotenuse by 2. Okay. So 1a, which one did we say was the short leg, X or Y? Y. So how do I find the Y? I take the hypotenuse and divide it by 2, it said. Okay, 10 divided by 2. So the short leg is going to be 5. Okay. So now I got to find the third side. Well, from here, you can use Pythagorean Theorem. Leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So you can go 5 squared plus x squared equals 10 squared. You can do that. That works. But let's use the table instead, because we've already done that. We've already done leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. Let's do it a different way. So x. So let's go back up to the table. So x is the longer leg, right? So which column, which row, first, second, third, fourth, says this is how you find the longer leg? Right here, right? Yeah, this is the only one right here that says this is how you find the long leg. You're going to need the short leg. Well, we already know that. What do I have to do with the short leg? Multiply by square root of 3. Okay, so let's go down here. What did we say the short leg was? 5. And we're going to multiply that times the square root of 3, right? So can I multiply those two and make square root of 15? Nope, because 1 is a square root, 1 is just a regular 5. So I'm done. That's how you write it. The short leg is 5. The longer leg is 5 times the square root of 3. And the hypotenuse is 10. Okay. All right, let's look at 1b. Right triangle, yes. 30, 60, 90 right triangle, yes. Because one's 30, the other has to be 60 to make up 180. Okay, so they give us 12. Is 12 a short leg, long leg, or hypotenuse?
A long leg
How do we know it's a long leg?
is degree 60 is pointing.
There you go. It's opposite 12, right? It's facing 12. Good. So we have the long leg. We're missing a short leg and a hypotenuse. So we're given a long leg. Let's go back up to the table. There's only one that says given a long leg. The third row down, right? The third row down says, given a long leg, how do we find the short leg? So let's do that. Let's divide. So this is going to be y, right? Y is the shorter leg. So we're going to take the longer leg, which is 12, and divide it by the square root of 3. Now, if I were to put that answer, 12 divided by the square root of 3 into delta math, you guys have done that before, it would say wrong. Why would it say wrong? There you go, right? The rules for square root at the bottom is I have to multiply top and bottom by whatever is causing the issue on the bottom, which is the square root of 3, right? You guys have done this before. So the top, 12 times the square root of 3. Yep, can't multiply them to make 36 because one of them is a square root and one of them is not. The bottom, what's the square root of 3 times the square root of 3? 3. What's left to do? Simplify them, yep. 12 and 3, what's the biggest number that goes into 12 and 3? 3. So I get 4 times the square root of 3. That's y. Okay. So now I'm missing the hypotenuse. So again, you can use leg squared, 12 squared, plus 4 square root 3 squared equals x squared. You can do that, okay? Or you can use the table above. Let's see. I'm missing the hypotenuse. I need to find the hypotenuse. I want the hypotenuse. Well, that's the top one, right? That's the top row. The top row says, I want the hypotenuse. So what you're going to do is you're going to multiply the short leg by 2. There's a delay. There we go. I'm going to multiply the short leg by 2. Okay, so let's go down here. 2 times the short leg. Which one was the short leg again? Yep, 4 times the square root of 3. So I need to multiply, right? When I multiply, can I multiply 2 times 4? Yes, I can, because they're both outside of the square root. They don't have square roots, right? 4 times 2. Can I multiply 2 times the square root of 3? No, square root of 3 stays because 2 does not have a square root. There's the third side. Okay, don't use decimals. If they give you fractions like we did, reduce the fractions, leave the root. 3, I have the square root of 3 twice. 3 doesn't have any pairs. It's just 3 times 1. Sometimes you'll have things with pairs. Okay. All right. Okay, so next triangle. Believe it or not, that was the hard triangle. 45, 45, 90 is not so bad. The reason being, 2 of the sides are exactly the same. If you find one side, there is no shorter leg, longer leg. For 45, 45, 90, it's both legs are the same. Because 45 and 45 are the same. Okay? So sometimes they'll put tick marks here. They won't put 45, 45, 90. They'll put tick marks here, like the little blue tick marks. What do those tick marks mean? They're the same. They're the same. Okay? That means it's a 45, 45, 90. So if you find one side, one leg, you can find the other leg. And if you want to find the hypotenuse, you just take whatever you have for the leg and multiply it by the square root of 2. That's it. Okay? This one's more cut and dry. All right, so let's look at 2a. All right, so is it a right triangle? Yes. Is it a 45, 45, 90 right triangle? Has to be, because the only missing angle is 45. Has to be 45, because the two 45s make 90, and then the box makes another 90 to be 180. Okay. Next one, what do they give us? A leg or a hypotenuse? They gave us a leg. They gave us a leg because the two legs make up the right triangle. So they gave us a leg. So if I have one leg on a 45, 45, 90, what is the other leg going to be?
The same number.
The same exact value. Yep, the same exact value. So this guy is going to be 3 times the square root of 2. Didn't even do any work. It's already done. Okay, so now I still need to find the hypotenuse, though. So I'm going to go to my table above. If I want the hypotenuse, I have to multiply the leg, either one of them, by the square root of 2. Because both the legs are the same. So pick one. All right. So we have, they're both the 3 times the square root of 2, right? So 3 times the square root of 2. And I got to multiply it times square root of 2. Yeah. Exactly. What's going to happen when I multiply straight across? It's going to, yeah, the 2's can multiply together. The 2's here can multiply together. The 3's can't. The 3 can't. So when I multiply square root of 2 times the square root of 2, I get the square root of 4, which is, okay, so we said it's a 45, 45, 90. And we said that they've given us the hypotenuse. Okay. So we go to the table. They've given us a hypotenuse. That means we need to find the leg. So what do? I divide the hypotenuse by the square root of 2. Divide the hypotenuse by the square root of 2. Okay. So that means take the square root, take the hypotenuse and divide it by the square root of 2. Okay. How do I simplify this? There's 2 ways to simplify this. One way, we know this way already. What do I do if I have a square root on the bottom? The multiply method, right? Multiply by whatever is causing the issue. So the square root of 2 and the square root of 2. So the bottom will just be 2, right? Because the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4, which is 2. The top, can I multiply the 2's on top? No, but I can multiply the 6 and the 2, right? So that makes 12. And then how do I simplify it? The 2's, yeah, the 2's become 1's, right? So that means the square root of 12. And then the last thing is I check to see if 12 has any pairs. I think 12 does have a pair. 12 has a pair of 2's. Right? 12 has a pair of 2's. So that means a 2 can come out. So you get 2 square root of 3. How do I find the other leg? You don't even have to do anything. It's the same, right? The 2 legs for a 45, 45, 90 are going to be exactly the same. So once you find one leg, the other leg is exactly the same. Okay? I'm going to show you a different way to do this one because I've showed the other classes a different way to solve this. Let me show you a different way. So let's do this part again. Now, the way I showed you will always work. Multiply by the square root of 2, divide, reduce if you can, see if there's any pairs. But there's another way to do this. You know how we can multiply things if they both have square roots? We can also divide them too, right? So what do you get when you divide those two guys? That'll work if you can divide them. If that 6 on top was a 7, you couldn't do this. You couldn't do it this way because 2 doesn't go into 7. But if they go into each other, you can also do it that way. Sometimes it's a special case. Sometimes that helps. So what do you do then? Either one for this problem. The top, the way you've been doing it, always works. So if you fail, if you don't remember, do it the way we've always been doing it. Multiply by the square root of 2 and do it that way. That way will work 100% of the time. This way only works, it's a kind of a shortcut because 2 and 6 both have square roots and they both can be divided into each other. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's the notes. Now, the last page has 2 tables. One 30, 60, 90. One is 45, 45, 90. This is our practice. We're going to do some practice problems. Okay. So each row represents a triangle. So there's 8 rows. So I'm going to label them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. They each represent a different 30, 60, 90 triangle. So for each row, I gave you one piece of information, either a short leg or a long leg or a hypotenuse. So like number 1, I gave you 6. Is 6 the short leg, the long leg, or the hypotenuse? Here's how you tell. Which one, see how these, the 30 and 60 and 90 are in order? Which one is opposite of the 30? Short, long, or hypotenuse? Yep, just go up to the top. Which one is opposite of 30? The short leg, right? The short leg is opposite. So all of these guys here are the short legs. Which one is opposite of 60? Short, long, hypotenuse? Long. So all of these guys right here are long legs. The one opposite the 90 degrees is always the hypotenuse. So all of these guys are hypotenuse. Okay, so I'll do the first one with you guys. Number 1. The first step, draw the triangle. These are 30, 60, 90 right triangles. Okay, so I know one of the sides is 6 for number 1. For number 1, I have a 6. That's all I have, and I have 2 blanks. Now, we said this. The first column is what? Short leg, long leg, hypotenuse. Short leg. So the short leg goes here, opposite of 30, right? So I'm missing this guy and I'm missing this guy. Oh yeah, 6, sorry. Okay. So, got to find the rest. Got to find the 2 other missing parts. Well, go to the table. The table says if you're given a short leg, how do I find hypotenuse first? If you're given a short leg and I want to find a hypotenuse, multiply the short leg by 2. Okay. So what's the hypotenuse going to be? 12. 12. 12. Okay. Now we need to find the long leg. The front says, there's only one that says I want to find the long leg. Want the long leg. Well, if I want the long leg, I got to multiply the short leg by what? Square root of 3. Okay. So 6 times the square root of 3. Can I multiply the 6 into the 3? No, so that means I just leave it. 6 square root of 3. Those are the 3 sides. Okay. I'll do one more of these, and then the rest you're going to do on your own. So which one do you want me to do? I did number 1. Pick another one you want me to do, and then I'll give you some time to do the rest.
So do you need to show your work on every line?
Just show your work where you need to. Some of them you don't need to. 5, sure. Number 5. Number 5. So if you're stuck, the first thing to do is draw a picture. That helps you because it visualizes, because the table is not visual at all. It just has numbers in it. But if you draw and label, you can know. So number 5, it says 5 times the square root of 5. That's a short leg. It's in the first column. It's a short leg. Okay, so 5 square root 5 is going to be down here. That means I'm missing this, and I'm missing a long leg, and I'm missing a hypotenuse. Okay. So I have a short leg. So let's go to the table. So if I have a short leg, to get the hypotenuse, I multiply by 2, regular 2. Multiply the short leg by regular 2. Okay. So the short leg was 5 times the square root of 5, and I need to multiply it times 2. So it's going to be a 10. So it's going to be 10 on the outside or 10 on the inside of the root? Outside. Good. So that means this is going to be 10 square root 5. Okay. Now I need to find a long leg. So let's go back up to the table. To find the long leg, multiply the short leg by the square root of 3. So this guy right here. So the short leg was 5 square root of 5. And it said to multiply that by the square root of 3. So I'm going to have a 15. Is the 15 going to be on the inside or the 15 going to be on the outside of the square? There you go. Does 15 have any pairs? Pair of what? Not pair of 5s. What is how do I make 15? What's the only way to make 15 besides 15 and 1? 5 and 3, right? That's the only way. And 5 is 5 times 1, 3. So it doesn't have any pairs. Done. Okay. So I'll give you about 10 minutes to do this. Now, do you have to do all of them? No, I would suggest breaking them up, split them up. There's 6 left. There's 6 of them that we haven't done. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8. Split them up. You do 3, I'll do 3. And then share your answers. Okay? If you need extra room, scratch paper, use wherever we're going to tape this into our notes, use that page. So wherever we're going to tape this into our notes, use that page as scratch paper. Okay? Because I don't give you a lot of room on here. Okay? I'll give you about 10 minutes to do it. Share your answers, and then I'll give you the key. Okay, number 4. Now let me do number 4. Number 4. Okay, so number 4, they give me 23. For number 4, they say 23. And 23 is in the hypotenuse column. Okay, so 23 is going to be the hypotenuse. Then I have x and I have y. Okay, so I'm given the hypotenuse. All right, so let's see. If you're given the hypotenuse, to find the short leg, you divide by 2. Divide the hypotenuse by 2, and that'll get you the short leg. Well, which one is the short leg, x or y? In my case, which one's the short leg? Y, yep. So 23 divided by 2, that's a fraction, or it's a decimal. It's like 11 and a half. It is 11 and a half. Don't change it to a decimal unless they say round. Just leave it like that. Leave it like that. Okay. Okay. So now I need to find the long leg. There you go. Yep. Multiply whatever I got for the short leg by the square root of 3. So I got 23 divided by 2 for the short leg, and I'm going to multiply it by the square root of 3. Since it's a fraction, I'm going to put over 1. Since it didn't have a denominator, every number's got a denominator of 1. Multiply straight across. Well, the 23 and the 3 I can't multiply because one's on the inside and one's on the outside. And then the 2 here. 23 root 3 over 2. Okay. And then the last one, number 8. Number 8 was also a question. All right, so number 8. So 30, 60, 90. So number 8. On number 8, they give me the hypotenuse. And it's 18 root 3. 18 root 3. Okay, so I got to find the long side and the short side. Okay, so hypotenuse. I'm given the hypotenuse. To find the short leg, I'm going to divide the hypotenuse by 2. Divide the hypotenuse by 2, and that'll give me the short leg. So 18 square root 3 divided by 2. So how do I simplify this? I don't need to multiply. What do I do? It's reduce. 2 goes into 18 9 times. And 2 goes into 2 once. So I get 9 square root 3. Now, which one is the short, x or y? Which one is the short side for me, x or y? Y, yep. Good. Okay, so now I got to find the long side. So I'm going to go back up to the table and look for the row that it says I want the long side. Right here. I want the long leg. So I got to multiply the short leg by the square root of 3. So whatever the short leg is, I got to multiply that by the square root of 3. Okay, so that's going to be x. So the short leg was 9 root 3, and I got to multiply that by another 3. Or square root of 3, I should say. So the only thing I can multiply is 3's, the 3's. So I get 9 times the square root of 9. Well, what is the square root of 9? 3. So 9 times 3 is 27. Okay. All right. So tomorrow, what we're going to do, first thing tomorrow, we're going to fill out the second table. We're going to fill out the second table. Okay. It's the same thing, except it's 45, 45, 90 instead of 30, 60, 90. Okay. So fold those, put those in your notebook where you're going to tape it tomorrow. We'll tape it tomorrow after we finish this. The answer's up here.